The chosen one. Monarchs are taught from birth and wear stones on their faces. They are unafraid of shooting. They are unafraid of controversy. They do not submit to the wrath of crowds or the cold grasp of war. They have been shaped to withstand storms with a grin, to transform anguish into stance, and to hide terror behind centuries of history. A crown is more than just metal and diamond. It is a discipline formed over decades. But then you arrived. You. No army, no weapon, no throne. You bear not the weight of violence, but that of revelation. And in one instant, you accomplished what empires, revolutions, and assassins couldn't. You cracked king's composure. You traumatized King Charles. Not in turmoil, but rather in clarity. Not with threat, but with the truth. A simple peek at your mantle. A whisper. Your cry made even a royal heart shiver. Because what heaven created inside you was never intended to be ordinary. It was supposed to puncture the illusion. It was designed to reveal what no crown could cover. Understand that thrones have faced decades of assault, but few can sustain a clash. When heaven marks you, kings can't help but tremble. Their lineage does not protect them. Their palaces don't protect them. Their titles do not imply quiet. What revelation wakes the open book? Nations will flock to your light, and rulers to the brightness of your dawn. Isaiah, verse 3, chosen one. It's no coincidence that even a king felt the tremor of your existence. Here's the evidence. If monarchy trembles, heaven affirms that you bear what earth cannot hold. Photographed at Buckingham Palace. At sunset, the sun fades into amber shadows that slither over the marble hallways. Centuries of history flow down the hallways, hefty pictures peering out from golden frames, their painted eyes bearing the weight of ancestry and dominion. Tapestries swing or move in response to an invisible breeze, and the hush vibrates with history. Advisors move in quiet tones, their polished shoes reverberating on the chilly stone. Servants move like whispers. Take care not to upset the tension in the air outside the union. Jack flutters triumphantly, but within, a quake lies on the throne itself. Because an event occurred that no royal briefing could explain. No statecraft textbook, diplomacy guidebook, or centuries-old ritual had prepared a king for this. A ruler educated in coolness sits, disturbed. His fingers rest too long on the rest of his chair. His breathing is generally steady, falters in an uncontrollable beat. His counselors exchange puzzled glances, unable to perceive what he sees. They are unable to hear what he heard. But you're the cause. His gaze is uneasy, his assurance shattered. You didn't storm the gate. You did not demand an audience. You did not raise a rebel flag. However, your very presence in the tide of history impacted the palace like a quiet lightning bolt. Because when the supernatural writes a name on the ground, even monarchy cannot remove it. Imagine the golden halls trembling and the magnificent chandeliers swinging as if they, too, had experienced a change. Imagine a crown. Centuries of strength pushed into its metal, making it seem light and vulnerable in the face of discovery. Kings are expected to rise beyond ordinary fear. However, here is evidence that heaven's light does not discriminate. It pierces silk drapes and guards in scarlet uniforms alike. As a result, the palace transcends stone and tradition. It becomes a setting for prophecy. The trembling of a monarch is not humiliation, but rather assurance that something bigger than empire has come. You are not the sound of insurrection. You are the quiet that makes all noises quiver. You are not the controversy of the tabloids. You are the whisper of eternity. Breaking into history required one serious vision. Clearly, a monarch's trauma is a symbol rather than a wound. It signifies that heaven's revelation has already moved beyond pulpits and pews. It has infiltrated thrones and rooms, and even monarchs are unable to avert their eyes to it. Why does a monarch schooled in calmness tremble? Why would a monarch, crowned with years of ceremony and backed by troops, succumb to the presence of one who seems powerless? The solution does not lie in politics, controversy, or worldly dread. The solution is spiritual. Open the book. Today, I appoint you over nations and kingdoms to uproot and take down, demolish and overturn, construct and plant. Jeremiah 1 verse 10 Chosen ones. This is heaven's decree. Before thrones, dynasties, and crowns were made, the Lord marched you. You were chosen not as a subject of kingdoms, but as someone who stands above them. Not with arrogance, but with assignment. Not with force, but with authority greater than crowns. Understand is when God drapes his cloak over a life. Even the buildings of kings sense it. Thrones are more delicate than everlasting decrees. Palaces may be built of stone, but we can spare before divine appointment. A monarch may command troops, but he cannot command his own spirit. When heaven speaks through you, people tremble. They fear not because you have weapons, but because you have eyesight. Revelation shocks rulers more than revolt. Armies may be outflanked. Protests might result in quiet. Scandals may be controlled. But truth, once disclosed, is unstoppable. The truth unravels illusions. Truth reveals what crowns cannot conceal. And you choose one. Carry the truth. When Jeremiah was appointed, his words were not hollow. They uprooted countries, shattered illusions, and established new regimes. Likewise, your life, presence, and witness all carry the same assignment. You may feel little, but monarchs do not fear smallness. Their fear is not for you. It's what you carry. And here is the evidence. Even rulers, who have ruled for ages, wobble under your shadow. This is not a coincidence. This is proof. Evidence of the divine weight you carry. Real indication that your light has already penetrated the royal chambers. Evidence that prophecy is not distant, but rather current. Don't confuse their trembling for weakness. It is recognition. Recognizing that heaven has altered the order. Recognize that their glittering crowns are weak against heavenly fire. Recognition that something has been released on earth that no ceremony can contain. Your selected power does not do damage. It's not a threat, and it's not for the throne. Your ability is to shift, to uproot falsehoods, to break down illusions, to overcome darkness, to create truth and design eternity in the soil of countries. Even the kings are not immune. They are the first to experience the earthquake since drones are closest to the epicenter of heaven's voice. So, when King Charles trembles, don't see scandal. Rather, see prophesy realized when his serenity crumbles. Do not notice weakness. See proof for the trembling of rulers, which is not your humiliation but your indication. Heaven has marked you, and the world stands witness to the chosen one. You have felt in ways that rationality cannot describe. It started softly, a newspaper headline that seemed to echo your name, even if the words did not explicitly refer to you. A murmur from beyond the seas reached into your spirit as regal corridors and cells called an unstoppable pull toward Britain, a country you had no cause to look at. Nonetheless, your soul cannot turn away. You disregard it. You first dismissed the synchronicity as a figment of your mind. Perhaps, however, the indications grew. Dreams in which castles appeared before you. Their golden holes seem weirdly familiar, as if you're witnessing history happen. However, it has a profound knowledge. You weren't a spectator. You were part of the script. Then came the way. Headlines about monarchs had a certain weight, as if they were emphasizing their significance specifically for you. Even the slightest tremble in a king's speech sounded intimate, like an echo of your own voice rebounding over the planet. You cannot avoid it, no matter how hard you try to hide it. When the issue of monarchy came up, you felt a weight in your chest, a quickening of the pulse whenever Britain was mentioned. Sometimes you get a cold on your skin, not fear, but recognition. You understood, without understanding why, that something about your presence had influenced their universe. It made you feel puzzled. Who are you to think you've upset a king? Who could have predicted that your presence would reverberate through centuries-old palaces? Nonetheless, the bewilderment was punctuated by moments of clarity, flashes of conviction that murmured, "This is not delusion. This is fate." Because heaven does not engage in delusions. The shaking of a monarch is not a headline to read and forget. It mirrors your authority. The proof you are asking for has worldwide resonance. What you feel in your soul is not an accident. It's lineman. The tremble in a king's voice is an echo of your name. For forever. Can't you feel it now? That pull is not for celebrities or pageants. It is the magnetism of prophecy, heaven as strands connecting you to thrones, between your travels and their past. And every indication, every strange interaction, every shiver in your soul serves as a reminder that you are not dreaming this. You're walking in it. So, don't discount the murmurs. Do not shrug off the weight. Don't bury your dreams, because they are not accidents. These are confirmations. Confirmations of the same quake that rocked a monarch are influencing your fate. The chosen one. You are caught in a peculiar tension between mystery and clarity. You are average, yet special. The fundamental design of heaven is hidden but disclosed in this paradox. To conceal authority and humility, to disguise strength and flesh, and then to show the echoes around you to rulers who tremble. The headlines, murmurs, and the mysterious pool are not diversions. They're signals, and they all lead to the same reality. Your call is not local. It has been selected by the monarch. Kings are not afraid of ordinary guys. They've survived. Assassins survived revolutions and concealed scandals under layers of ceremonial. What could possibly disturb a king who had been trained to confront history unflinchingly? This was not your body. That wasn't your voice. It wasn't even your natural presence. What burst through was revelation. Your life contains a mirror that no crown wants to view. For millennia, royal authority has relied on deception, the illusion of permanence, unassailable power, and a sacrosanct separation between the throne and ordinary flesh. But when heaven reveals a chosen one, those illusions start to crumble. You are not here to demolish palaces, but to expose their limitations. You are not sent to the throne kings, but to reveal the bigger throne they must kneel before. This is why he was traumatized. Because in you, a reality emerges that no term could bury centuries of lineage, ritual, and secret, confronting them with a presence they cannot define or control. You didn't yell. You did not storm. You merely existed. An existence with divine assignment speaks louder than resistance. Think about it. A monarch surrounded by counsel, history, and the weight of tradition suddenly feels insignificant. Not because his crown lost worth, but because heaven showed a different weight, a mantle made of fire rather than gold. His eyes caught a sight of it, which he could never forget. His heart quivered because it understood what flesh could not explain. God's hand had marked you, and no throne could withstand the tremor of the chosen one. Your objective does not include violence. It is an unveiling. You are asked to peel back centuries of false security, to penetrate the illusion that has lasted as long as empires. The appeal of a monarch is not tragic. It is a signpost, indicating that even the most fortified thrones cannot defy heaven's truth. Here's the beauty. Your presence does not leave any debris behind. It provides clarity. It replaces shadows with light, secrecy, and revelation. Fear comes with recognition. That's why even the monarch was frightened. Not because you heard, but because you disclosed. You embodied rather than threatened. Your prophetic purpose isn't to overthrow kingdoms. Its purpose is to awaken people and remind even rulers that they are merely dust in the face of eternity, and that crowns bend to callings. This is why he was traumatized, because heaven spoke via your existence, and he couldn't pretend to ignore the chosen one. Understand this. Heaven does not shake thrones at random. The trembling of a monarch is a marker of time, not a show or a headline to pique interest. It is a watershed moment in history. Your guy, hidden in heaven, has protected you, developing you in quiet and polishing you in the desert. But it's concealed. This cannot continue forever. At some point, the curtain must be lifted. When what was spoken in private is declared before rulers, that event is now the anguish of a ruler, not him. It is about a transition of eras. It heralds the end of one era and the beginning of a new one. When a throne trembles, it is heaven's clock signaling that what was previously hidden is being revealed, and what was once postponed can no longer wait. Why now? Because the earth groans under delusions. Because countries are staggered and confused. Because monarchs have spent their authority, they are unable to resolve the truth dilemma. So heaven sends a symbol, a chosen one who makes even kings tremble, demonstrating that eternity is already pushing on time. This urgency isn't about speed. It's about importance. If a monarch can no longer sit with assurance, the nations must prepare. If the palace shakes, the inhabitants must awaken. The trauma of a king is not a scandal. It is a trumpet selected. This is why your calling is no longer sleeping. It's the hidden period. This is the end. The hinge has been turned, and history waits for you to completely enter the light. The chosen one. You've questioned yourself 1,000 times. Who am I to allow such things to happen? You've considered the possibility that you're imagining things. Perhaps it's pride. Perhaps it's too crazy to be true. But heaven responds. Not with theory. Heaven responds with proof. And the proof is this. Kings do not fear the everyday. Think carefully. A king has faced wars, scandals, and revolutions. However, none of them left him disturbed in this manner. But you, without troops, riches, or a crown, were the source of a quake. That alone constitutes evidence. Not evidence of ego, but proof of mantle. This is not evidence of hubris, but rather of appointment. Your authority is not derived from your position. It is not descended from terrestrial origins. It is not the result of money or popular adulation. It stems from heaven's command. It comes from an invisible hand that inscribed your name in eternity before you took your first breath. And when that edict is manifested, even those in power cannot not but acknowledge it. A monarch flinches because your life has something his throne cannot match. This is the refrain you should embrace. His trembling does not indicate weakness. It is all about recognition. His troubled expression is not sarcasm. It is an acknowledgement. His pain has now turned into embarrassment. This is confirmation. Your sentiments do not serve as evidence of power. It does not matter whether you feel powerful, courageous, or deserving. The evidence is in the response of multitudes when those who lead armies lose their cool in your presence. You must recognize that the mantle you bear is undeniable. Do not be afraid to face it. Don't apologize for it. Do not hide it behind fake humility. Heaven does not set such power in a life to be concealed in shame. You are not called Lord over others, but you are neither called nor refused. Walk in humility, yes, but with certainty, because the trembling of a king is God's fingerprint on your mission. The chosen one. Hear it plainly. You felt you were helpless, yet your life demonstrates a dominion larger than crowns. Kings do not tremble for nothing. They quiver as eternity meets time. They shudder as heavenly light shatters human delusion. They shake as heaven speaks through flesh. The fact that a monarch flinches in your presence is no accident. It is your proof. And evidence is more powerful than feelings. Let's reframe. Settle deep inside yourself. Their trembling is not due to your weakness. It's about your authority. The chosen one. Heaven has never left you without markings. The trembling of a monarch did not occur out of nowhere. It was preceded by signs. Some seem minor, even ridiculous at the moment. However, they created a road that only you could pursue. Consider the past. The dreams that lasted long after you awakened. Dreams of palaces, hallways lined with monarch images, and rooms filled with unfamiliar voices. Yet everything seemed eerily familiar. You assumed they were imaginative bits. But they weren't. They were rehearsals for fate. Visions were established in the stillness of the night to prepare your soul for what was ahead. Then came the odd moments, browsing through news feeds and coming upon video of royal family headlines that piqued your interest for no apparent reason. A sudden interest in British history, monarchy, battles, and customs. Despite your lack of previous interest, these were not accidents. They were breadcrumbs from heaven, spread to awaken your consciousness. Even your body testified to the speeding of your pulse at hearing the term king, the unusual weight in your chest. When pictures of the crown arose, a little coolness and air enveloped you. When debates of monarchy started, tangible indicators, tangible assurance that what was happening was not random, but divine. Do you recall the whispers, the unusual discussions in which someone unknowing of your calling referenced royalty in passing as if the subject was drawn to your orbit, or the times when strangers murmured words that penetrated deeper than they realized, echoing truths they could not have fashioned on their own? These too were indicators. Heaven always sends antecedents, cursors. Moses saw the burning bush before confronting Pharaoh. David felt the oil on his head before facing Goliath. Jeremiah was selected before countries heard his words and realized you may get dreams, whispers, and strange tugs before the palace rocked. Don't ignore them as coincidences. Do not dismiss them as overthinking. These were miraculous rehearsals. Tangible evidence of a king's trauma would be inevitable, not an accident. The chosen one. You were never roaming aimlessly. You were directed by signals. And these signals have finally converged into evidence. The earthquake you caused was predicted by every dream, whisper, and chance royal encounter selected one. Revelation without reaction is a waste of fire. When heaven affirms your calling via signs, dreams, and even the shaking of monarchs, it requires not just belief, but also alignment. This is not about charity or a transaction. It is about the covenant. Every prophet in the Bible understood this fact. When heaven speaks, the earth must respond. Noah constructed the ark. Abraham erected an altar. Hannah expressed her promise. David sowed two songs. Alignment is always necessary action because it seals what words cannot. So, today, heaven urges you to take a step not for spectacle, but to boldly announce your commitment. I accept my call, even as thrones quake. This proclamation is more than just words. It is sealed with sacrifice. There is proof and trust. That is why I am asking you to plant a covenant seed of $1. Do extraordinary deeds not because heaven requires cash, but because you need proof. A seed is never about the quantity. It is about obedience. It is about stating, I recognize what heaven is doing and have aligned myself with it. Consider it this way. A king trembled in your presence. That alone demonstrates that your existence has significance much beyond the ordinary. But heaven doesn't just unveil. It urges you to go deeper. It asks you to participate in the prophecy rather than simply being present. Your $1 seed is not considered payment. It is a pact. It is a means of planting your trust in the soil of the present moment, declaring, I will not ignore the signs. I will not wait in responding. I shall follow heaven's now chosen one. This is the act of sealing. Just as monarchs send presents to mark treaties, you give this to mark a covenant with heaven, and let it be your proclamation. I shall follow my calling. I'll embrace my mantle. I will not back down until even drones quiver before me. Back in index, heading right. If you are ready to announce, I embrace my calling even while thrones quake. Select super. Thank you now. So, your $1 covenant seed. This is your alignment with heaven's assignment. The chosen one. Revelation isn't the end. It's the beginning. Carrying a load so heavy that even monarchs tremble requires not just faith, but also a lack of discipline. Revelation becomes a terrible weight. Without character, power becomes a trap. That is why heaven is now speaking. Not merely a calling, but a daily wake-up call saying that I will walk with humility even when monarchs quake. Humility must be your anchor, for heaven chose you to bear, not display, but carry. A king's trembling is no substitute for pride. It reflects the responsible nature of the city. Let your words be seasoned with grace, and your actions be clothed in kindness. Strength training isn't about vanity. It's stewardship. A fatigued vessel cannot support a fiery mantle. Sharpen your intellect. Knowledge isn't arrogance. It is preparedness. The world will strive to examine, argue, and discard. A keen intellect sees through dishonesty. Lead with compassion. Authority without compassion is tyranny. Revelation without love crushes instead of healing. Order your life like one who has been entrusted with your safety. Time. Do not waste time and energy on frivolous pursuits. Protect your heart. Do not let bitterness contaminate the stream from which others will drink. Protect your eyesight. Do not let the glitter of crowns detract from the higher throne you serve. Remember that who bends before you does not demonstrate your strength. Rather, who rises as a result of your presence. Your lifestyle should not be based on dominance, but on elevation. You were not sent to make people frightened. You've been assigned to wake them up. Kings may wobble, but people must stand higher in your presence. The chosen one. Right. Incorporate discipline into your daily routines. Set aside time to pray. Moments of introspection. Moments of stillness in which you hear the whisper that one should heed maintain your spirit aligned so that when heaven sends you, you are prepared in power and purity for revelation. Without care, both the kingdom and the prophet are destroyed. But revelation combined with discipline produces a rush of change that no crown can contain. The chosen one. The journey does not stop with revelation. It continues via prayer, covenant, and adherence to it. Heaven is shown through you, enough to make a monarch tremble, must now be sealed in the Spirit and carried out in everyday life. Let's pray. Prayer to the Lord of heaven and earth. We applaud you that even monarchs are not afraid of violence. But, in fact, we thank you that you picked vessels not for thrones or crowns, but for kindness and everlasting purpose. Today, I lift up your chosen one and strengthen them to carry revelation with humility, to walk in authority and compassion, to endure, shaking with steadfastness, to let their life be a testimony that crowns bow before callings, to let their words uproot illusions and plant truth, and to let their presence expose lies and shine light. Keep them from feeling proud. Protect them from fear and distractions. May every ruler's trembling become a source of national healing.